agenda.
Fun. Can I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Madam Mayor,
Just
I'd like to pull several items off the consent agenda for discussion, please.
Mr. Galvin?
Tab D is in dog, tab E is in elephant, tab F is in Frank, tab G is in George, and tab O as in oh my. Oh, and yeah, tab and tab P, sorry, as in Peter.
just before we go to discussion, Scott, if you, Madam Mayor, if you allow me. Before we used to have the consent agenda with the letters A through Z or A through O. Why we don't have it anymore? At least I'm not sure where the consent agenda end. Is it end before the public hearing, resolution, ordinance? That's what
Tab
it is,
P.
like P.
Yes, they're
From now on,
listed.
that's how you would be. That's what I have to look for.
No,
A through P.
Vice Mayor, there are items A through P are on the consent agenda.
No,
It's just that many.
I realize that, but before we used to have it at the top, like we said, consent agenda A through P
I
or
see.
A through. But if that's how you guys want to do it, I don't have a problem. But I just want you to know that there is a change.
There will not be a change, and that's, I didn't catch that, so that's the way we'll do it. If it's A through P, we'll list that in parentheses beside the consent
But you know
agenda.
what? I think that the printing version has it, but the online version doesn't have it because
Okay.
I'm using the iPad.
Okay.
But Councilman Bianbe has his. It says what is it? Yeah, he has that paragraph, I think, that says consent agenda unless a member of the city council wish to remove a specific blah blah blah. So he has that portion, but
Okay.
the online version doesn't have
Doesn't
it.
have it.
But it's okay. Just,
We open for discussion.
I think Councilman
Galvin,
Galvin has questions regarding
You do have
those
questions regarding those items, Councilman?
Yes.
Okay.
Can we remove them from the consent agenda and add them to the regular agenda?
items. Usually,
It's in form of a motion.
I know, but
Is that in the form of a motion?
my motion is to remove from the consent agenda tabs D, E, F, G, O, and P. Remove them from the consent agenda and add them to the regular council agenda.
Any second?
I would second that.
I have a question. Let's see, I want to remove only 2 from the consent agenda. What do we do?
You have to
from
come
there?
with another motion,
Or I have
Councilman.
to come with another
if it's
motion.
If it
may I-
fails.
may I?
Or if it's fair.
May I,
Sure,
Madam Mayor?
sure. that's me.
Point of clarification, just for if the two item that you want to remove is not part of the
Isn't- is it part of
is
it?
part of it. So it is fell under it as well. What I would
Can you make a friendly motion?
no, he already has it. What I would try to explain to Councilman, or just to give my point of understanding, if you remove it, even though if you don't remove it totally from the consent agenda, you still can discuss it.
Okay.
But
I
if
was
you-
going to move it to the next city council agenda.
Oh, okay.
It's
so
2 items, form and
Okay.
and
We have
Councilman
to
Scott
remember there's a
Garvin.
motion that has been second on a very specific.
Okay.
Sure, for Madam Mayor, for clarification, conceding to Councilman Biename, which 2 items would you like to continue?
G and O. I want to remove.
You want to put them for the next council meeting?
Yes.
Is that
I
what?
would
Yes,
suggest that
GNO.
we move with the first motion and the second, and then we'll go to the next motion and second.
Well, there's already a motion and second on mine, but I would accept the friendly amendment to move G and O to the meeting 2 weeks from now. And that would make my motion to just do D, E, F, and P tonight.
So can you reformulate your motion?
Sure. I'll withdraw my original amendment for all of the motions. But I will second Councilman Biename's motion to continue tabs G and O to our next meeting.
So your first motion has been withdrawn.
I'm withdrawing my
Mr.
first-
Bien-Aimé
Yes.
has made a proposition. Can you formulate it as a motion, Mr. Bien-Aimé?
And it's a motion to postpone tab G and O to the next city council meeting.
I will second his motion to continue to our next meeting.
Miss Clerk, can we have a roll call on this?
Councilman Galvin,
Yes.
Mayor Tundro,
No.
Councilman Bien-Aimé,
Yes.
Councilwoman Keys,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Starrow.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to move that we pull tabs D, E, F, and P from the consent agenda and add them to the council agenda.
Say that again. D.
D is in dog, E is in elephant, F is in Frank, and P as in Peter to the regular council agenda.
I would second that.
It may be very quick. I just have a few questions about each one of them and can't ask that under consent.
Yes, you can. We did that before. We asked question.
I know, but we were sort of sloppy before.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Councilman. I don't appreciate you saying that because since I have been sitting here, I try my best to follow the rules and regulation. If I don't do it because that I don't know it, but being sloppy, it is not part of my being. So, Madam City Attorney, can we actually discuss an item that's under the consent agenda without being sloppy? Is that part of the rules? Can we do that?
Yes, you can do that.
But
So you can
according to
discuss the item on the consent agenda while it remain on the consent agenda if it be the will of the mayor.
if I'm not mistaken, under the new North Miami Bill of Rights that was approved with the new North Miami Charter, all it takes is the request of the council person to pull something off consent and put it on the regular agenda, and it's done.
If you would like to make a motion, then you can surely make a motion.
Okay. All I want to do is ask a few questions.
So, I believe we discussed that you can ask questions if it's okay with the
But
mayor.
am I incorrect in my understanding of the new North Miami Bill of Rights that's part of the new North Miami Charter?
It's not part of the new. The Bill of Rights has always been in the charter.
Okay. The Bill of Rights that's now focused upon in our new North Miami Charter, does it not say that all it takes is a request by a council person to pull something off the consent agenda and put it on the regular agenda, and that's all we need?
No, but it's the same Bill of Rights. There's
Right.
no new Bill of Rights.
No, I'm not saying there's a new Bill of Rights. I
Okay.
apologize for using that word new because the new charter focuses more heavily on the Bill of Rights than it used to. The old charter didn't touch upon it a whole lot. But now we're
There's-
splitting hairs. Oh, okay.
I don't know what you
Here
mean
are
by
my- Here are
that.
my questions, guys. I'll ask the city attorney to read up on that between now and the next meeting. On tab D,
Would you like to reformulate your motion once again?
No, what he's
I just want to
what
ask
he's
a few
doing right
questions.
now,
It's
Madam
amazing
Mayor,
that in America.
what he's doing right now is
being
to
allowed
ask question
questions.
under.
I just
No,
have
no,
a
because we have
question.
another motion on the floor to remove all these items. Now you were talking about you want to ask questions without removing these items from the consent agenda. Is that what you wish to do, to discuss on them
I would
before?
I would prefer removing them, but if it's going to belabor the night into the 11 o'clock hour, I'll just ask the questions.
Very good.
All right. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Through you to the city manager, tab D, authorizing code enforcement staff related to the red light cameras. Does that mean we're going to have our code enforcement staff out watching red lights? What does that mean in layman's terms?
Through the mayor, Councilman Galvin, due to the change of the law that was recently goes into effect July the 1st, what this does is allow our code enforcement the city's code enforcement special magistrate to hear over the red light camera program like it was when it was first instituted. So in order to do that, it has to be passed in form of a resolution that we will have a hearing magistrate. Instead of the red light violations going to the court like they used to, it will do like it was initially implemented. They will be heard here in this chamber by a special magistrate that would be selected by the city.
Okay, thank you. That was my first question on that one.
But
Okay.
Sure.
you failed to, if I'm wrong, or please correct me. Is that a state law that the governor just passed it instead of having I would say, instead of having those people go to the court, the city required to have a magistrate in the city to do it instead of going through them to the court?
That's correct, Vice Mayor.
Thank you.
Thank you for the clarification. Tab E is an elephant. This is very contrary to something that we passed on a voice vote a few meetings ago. A few meetings ago, the City Council on a voice vote gave direction that we were going to stop enforcing right-on red light tickets under the system. Now it seems like we're going to get harsh again, that we're going to enforce right on red at the red light cameras. Is that the case?
Through the Mayor, Councilman Galvin, again, in the law that the governor recently passed, the law now gives a lot more clarity and leniency on right turns. You can now go past the white line, and you could stop in the apex or come to a slow in the apex and make the right turn. By that law being passed, it gives a lot more advantage to the drivers making right turns on red. It basically takes away the enforcement for right turn on reds. And due to the fact that that is a part of the law that was changed, we are requesting that you repeal the resolution that you formally made, because the spirit of that was to take the enforcement out of the right turn on red, which the governor just did through the entire inaction of the law.
Governor Scott, God bless you. See you later. I just need my citizens of North Miami to realize red light cameras are about to get stricter again in North Miami. You will get more tickets because now, if you make a right on red, North Miami is repealing our old resolution, and we're instituting a new resolution that will ticket you. Because we heard people don't like the red light tickets. And just 3 or 4 months ago, under Mayor Pierre, we heard that people don't like it, and so we reined that in. We said, all right, if you run through the red light, you get a ticket. But if you make a right on red, which was a little bit in the gray area, you don't get a ticket. This changes that. If you make a right on red, let's not blame it on Governor Scott. If you make a right on red, you're getting a red light ticket in North Miami. Correct?
Through the Mayor, Councilman Galvin,
That's absolutely what it is.
Councilman, if you let me explain, you're incorrect.
How
If
am I
you-
incorrect?
If you will allow me to explain, you're incorrect. Before, your resolutions had indicated before was that the city would not issue any right turns on red.
Right? And this
The-
repeals that.
So
The
the
word says
same,
repeal.
if I may finish, the same cry, which was the spirit of the resolution that this council implemented, is the same cry that went before the entire state of Florida. So therefore,
Okay.
the state has said, right turns on red, the strict enforcement that you had, that people had to stop behind the line, we hear the cry of the people, so therefore we are changing the law. And the new law is that when you come to a right turn on red, you may make the right turn on red, You may go past the bar. You can just simply just slow and look and continue to go. And so what we're asking this council to do is so that the same attempt of the spirit that you were trying to do, being that it mirrors the state of Florida and what the cry of all the people in the state had implemented, is that we mirror that law, which will meet the objective of the council.
But here's what the resolution reads: that we will repeal our old resolution about red lights, right turn on red, and we will enforce right turns on red light traffic infractions. We will enforce that. That's not meaning we're getting more lenient. We are enforcing it, and we are going to write more red light traffic tickets. I just need everybody to realize this tonight is repealing the old order, which was don't write tickets on red lights, and it's writing new language that says we'll enforce red light traffic infractions. Let's not try to dice it, because when people start getting more tickets and call me, I'm going to put them on y'all, because y'all are trying to make the new law harder.
Councilman, again, I respectfully disagree with your interpretation. This repeals it, and we're requesting later in the agenda to enact what the state of Florida is doing.
Then you need to pull this off of tonight's agenda and go back and put this in order so that we're not writing something new now, so that 50 minutes from now we can vote on something later. I can't predict what the future is going to be. I'd like to move that tab E and all other red light related issues be pulled from tonight's agenda and moved 2 weeks from now, so that staff has the ability to make sure that everything's presented to us, so that we're not asking our citizens to pay more money for red light tickets.
Madam City Attorney, is there a way this can be written on a very clear, simple manner, that there is no equivocally interpretation of what you want exactly?
The council report is clear.
It's the resolution is clear. I'm sorry, if you could just, I apologize.
Well, I know, they're having a conversation.
No,
but
because
I just want this to be easy. I don't want anybody to be confused, and I don't want our residents to be paying more money on red light traffic.
Can this resolution be written on a way that everybody can be clear on its meaning? It seems like Councilman Galvin has a problem with the words repealing, refrain, and enforce. Can we find synonyms?
Madam, may I?
Yes, we can find synonyms.
Can we rewrite this and, as he proposed, to bring it to the next council meeting so that everybody can understand it and be on the same page?
Madam Mayor, our city, our local lobbyist is here, who can probably explain it so that Councilman Galvin could, and make it clear. We pay him, perhaps if you desire.
Sure.
He's present with
Good,
us.
very well. Mr. Brook, welcome. Good evening.
Madam Mayor, members of the council, Madam City Attorney, Mr. City Manager. What the legislature did was take the complaints that local governments like yours raised and attempted in the red light camera legislation this year to standardize the right on red issue, to provide better guidance not only for your citizens but for the local government as well. I wasn't here on this item, obviously, but my desire is to make sure that in my role on your behalf, I'm providing information. Sitting in the audience, it would be a mistake not to. To you, Madam Mayor, to Councilman Galvin, I don't know the order of which you should repeal and pass. That's your prerogative. That's up to the mayor and the manager to set that agenda. But what you're attempting to do is codify the right on red, by the way, which is what local governments are doing all over the state as we speak, which is an attempt to make sure that people know what the rules are on right on red. And what this standardized procedure does is eliminate, you're talking, and I say this respectfully, more tickets will be written. Theoretically, the movers of the change to a standardized right on red hoped fewer tickets would be written, because it says If you do X and Y, a citation won't issue. The process of the magistrate issue that you're looking at, again, is to implement another procedure that is to better allow you as a city to handle those citations that your residents are getting. Whether that works or not, that's an issue to, once you implement, to let people decide whether it is or isn't, and then go complain to their lawmakers. But I think what you're trying to do is standardize or accept the standardization of right on red and not complicate it.
Madam Mayor, through you to Mr. Book. Mr. Manager, right now in North Miami, do we write tickets under for people making right turns on red?
No.
Okay. This says we're going to now enforce right turn on red traffic tickets. Even whatever the state legislature did in Tallahassee, I'm not there, I can't help it, I'm not part of it. I know, and you complained about it because it was going to cost us a lot of money in the budget. We, about 6 months ago, scaled it back and said, if you're making a right turn on red, North Miami won't enforce that. So we're not writing that at all right now. This repeals that resolution and says, we'll write right turn on red. Whatever the conditions are, we're going to be writing more tickets, which is nice for the city because we'll be making more money, but we're going to be writing red light tickets, which we're not doing now. I just
Point of
can't support that.
clarification. Point of clarification, quickly, Madam Mayor, if you allow me.
Sure, go ahead.
From what Mr. Brook?
Mr. Brook, please.
No, I was just telling him that we're
Madam-
conducting a meeting up
Yes,
here.
ma'am.
We're going to ship you to
I was trying to
Tallahassee.
answer a question, but I apologize.
From what I understand, we're discussing two different items, totally different. I think we're discussing no turn on right on red, or no right turn on red, but I don't think that's what the law says. From what I understand, if you can always turn on red, but it depends on the speed that you're turning. That's not what it is.
That's the prudent and cautious rule that was part of the original statute. Madam Mayor, through
Mr.
you.
Brook, Vice Mayor, if you're allowed, I see State Representative Campbell here.
Can I
But maybe she would be able to clarify because
Oh,
that
my
was her bill.
girlfriend.
Madam,
can I say, Madam Mayor, can I say something?
Sure, Councilman.
I'm kind of agree with Councilman Scott Galvin. If we're gonna repeal our resolution, right, based on the law that passed in Tallahassee, that's not what we said here. We said we're gonna repeal our resolution, then we're gonna enforce the red line camera. That's what you said, to enforce the red line camera. At least if you said in accordance to the Florida law that passed, that's the reason we're going to repeal it. I understand that, but you said you're going to repeal it and enforce the red line camera.
In that case, we don't have to defer it. We just have to make a friendly amendment.
We got to change it. We have to change. We cannot say to enforce the red line camera. That's when we're going to go back
So are you making
to
a
the
motion
previous.
to make a friendly amendment to amend the amendment?
Instead of saying
Or
to
the resolution
enforce
that
the
we
right
have?
turn on red line traffic
Okay,
infractions.
let me address that if
Yeah.
you'd like. I'd be happy to, if you would like to amend the resolution to say repealing Resolution 2013-7 to be compliant or reflect the
The state-
recent state law.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Because
Yeah.
I think the confusion comes to enforce right turn on red light traffic.
Exactly.
And I think this is where
The
the
problem is
is sitting.
Is that a motion?
we have
and
to
second?
repeal it to enforce the state.
Okay.
If I might ask
legislature
a
that-
question for clarification. You've already stated, as of right now, we do not write right turn on red traffic tickets, correct?
Correct.
If this friendly amendment language is passed tomorrow, will you be empowered to write right turn on red traffic tickets?
Yes, but subject to state
According to the state
Subject to
law,
state law.
which is more lenient,
Subject to
yes.
state
Yes, so even with the friendly amendment, we're giving staff leeway to start writing more red light tickets. If that's what the will of this council is, so be it. I want to be on record as saying I oppose more red light tickets.
Mr. Bien-Aimé just made a motion that was seconded by Councilwoman Vice Mayor Steril. Did you hear it, Mr. Galvin?
Yes, I
Because we need to move on this. Seems like
we can be here all night. I'm ready, but yes.
I don't think it will be fair to the employees, neither to the people that are here tonight that are waiting for several items to be heard.
It's also not fair that they pay more red light tickets.
We just made the friendly
down with the red
amendment,
light
Mr. Galvin. We just made the friendly amendment to correct this.
All right.
And I believe...
But we're not correcting it. We're only changing the language. The amended language, as the city manager has just stated, will allow us tomorrow to start writing red light tickets.
Councilman Bien-Aimé,
No.
can you please repeat your motion?
The motion is to city attorney, and we're gonna repeal the resolution, but we're gonna
On tab E, is that correct?
exactly.
Okay.
But we're gonna apply whatever the state law.
We're going to apply the
Ask us to
standard.
do.
That's correct. We're going to
Exactly.
apply the standard of the new state law.
But according to the city manager, that allows us to start writing red light tickets tomorrow.
As of July 1st, right?
Madam,
We won't be able to do
July
that.
1st.
State rep, can we hear your, what does the state law says regarding the right turn on the red light?
Let me say good evening to all, and then good evening to everyone here, and good evening to my mayor. How you doing? And all vice mayor council. Let me make it clear, and I just leave El Portal with the same topics. Started July 1st, 2013, and it's already signed by Governor Scott. When you turn on right, which is House Bill 7125, no more tickets. Period.
Okay.
It's the law for the whole entire Florida. When you turn on right, you cannot issue any ticket. You do that, they will sue you.
Good.
All right.
But that's
what we want to do, but
that's
that's
what
not
the
what.
law in North Miami already is. Honorable Representative. That's
It's
what
not,
the law in North
it's not
Miami
only not,
already is.
it's not, Councilman Scott, it's not only not Miami, this is
Right.
a law for entire Florida.
Right.
You cannot repeal, you cannot do anything. The law signed to law, is signed last week, Wednesday, by Governor Scott. When you turn on right, you cannot issue any ticket. That's where all cities been eating up the people's eyes. Thank you. Not working, and it's over. That's my bill, and I'm glad to carry that bill for these people here.
Thank you, State Rep. Thank you so much. We need to move on. We really need to move on.
That's where I'm confused.
Okay, we need to move on.
That's where I'm confused. Because I'm hearing our city manager say tomorrow he can write red light tickets.
Mr.
So
Galvin.
either we're enforcing what Representative Campbell wants to do and what I want to do, either we're stopping red light tickets, right on red tickets, or we're going to write right on red light tickets. Which one is it?
Councilman, if the question is to me, it's according to the law.
But our
what would be-
existing North Miami resolution is no right on red. Why do we want to repeal that?
Madam City
But
Attorney.
the state law has more power than a simple resolution from the city council of the city?
Madam
Not
City,
always.
Madam
no.
City Attorney,
The
what
city-
would be the
city law
proper-
takes precedent, and then if there's no city law, it falls to the county and state. So our city laws can be stricter than the state laws. We can't be
Yeah.
less strict. We are already stricter than the state law. No right turn on red tickets. I can't get anybody to explain to me why we should repeal that at all.
Madam City Attorney,
yes.
where are we right now? How could we proceed?
I'm going to defer to, if it be
I think we move. We need to
Can
move
we
on.
continue this 2 weeks? I mean, now we're asking our lobbyists to give advice when our staff can't.
No, we need to
Okay,
move on.
okay.
You pay me, Madam Mayor, just
No,
a simple
no.
response to
Yes.
Councilman Galvin. You pay me to give you advice and counsel. You don't have to listen to it.
Right.
But you pay me to give it to you, and you don't pay me to give it to you simply as a lobbyist. You pay me as a lawyer to give it to you. I'll be glad to respond to questions.
Okay.
I'm not sure that I agree with the full interpretation that my dear friend, Representative Campbell just rendered to you. I think my interpretation of what ultimately passed is slightly different, and I believe that your city attorney concurs with me that there are limited sets of circumstances in the effort to standardize right on red where tickets may issue under the circumstances strictly described in the language that Representative Campbell adopted in an attempt to cut it out altogether. There are still limited circumstances where they could issue.
Because we have to protect the pedestrian as well.
That, Madam Mayor, if I can through you, that is correct. Listen, there's a reason, there's a statute that prohibits right turns on red without stopping when a law enforcement officer sees you and observes you, whether that's by camera or it's in person. There's a reason, because the people's lives are at stake, not only pedestrians, but oncoming vehicles. There's a reason for that.
So allow me to ask the same question I asked about 8 minutes ago. As of today, we are not allowed under North Miami resolution to write right turn on red tickets. If this passes tonight, Mr. Book, is it your belief that we can tomorrow write right turn on red tickets?
Can I?
Under-
I'm going to take that question,
Okay.
if you will. Not as of tomorrow.
Okay, as of July 1st,
But
I'm
as
sorry.
of after the implementation of, if you pass the ordinance, which will also conform with the state law, which is also on the agenda, then following the passage of your ordinance, then the program will be implemented through the special magistrate, local government program, and yes,
Okay.
you will be able to give tickets to people who do not stop at all prior to making a right turn.
Thank
That
you
is
for
correct.
being the first
Okay,
person
can-
tonight to say yes.
Can we move on?
I
Madam
now
Mayor?
move on.
And we need to vote on this.
Okay, so how do we proceed? Do we vote on this item only, or we just leave it on the consent agenda, then we move on?
You can.
It's still part of the consent.
It's still part of
I
the consent
understand that.
agenda. I believe Councilman Galvin stated he had some other questions on some other items of the consent agenda. If you wish to discuss those items and
Okay.
then following the
Okay.
consent agenda questions and answers, you can then move to approve the consent agenda
Okay.
in its
What other
entirety.
questions?
The other one you have on tab F, Mr. Galvin.
Tab F, I understand to relate to the red light cameras. Tab,
P, as in
Hold
Peter,
on.
you had.
hold on, sorry guys, I gotta look at my notes here. Which is the item related to the roof repair?
The roof repair has been,
That was
was
also
item
O.
O,
Okay.
and that has been moved, but I will say that by doing that, it will delay the $1 million roofing program.
Well, that's okay. I don't want to argue that. Tab P.
So does,
I'm
is all
sorry.
part of those that you want to
Why-
remove?
No, tab O we've already voted on. Tab G and O we've already continued to the next meeting. Let's
Okay, so
we already voted
let's
on
move
that.
on with the consent agenda.
So let's move on with the consent agenda then.
Okay.
I move the consent agenda.
Second,
With the motion,
We
to
already
change
have-
the
we already
language
have
of,
Yes.
we're gonna change it, right?
Yes. She
On
already
tab
did
E,
that.
right?
Correct.
Yes.
that was
She already
the
did.
Okay, okay.
anyone wish to record a no?
Please let the record reflect I vote no.
Okay.
Let's move on.
More red light tickets,
Tab Q.
though.
Tab Q. It's not even election yet, guys. Come on.
Well, it's not election
Just so
yet.
everybody knows. I just want to be on record. Everybody knows.
Okay. Mr. City Manager, I understand we are moving on to tab Q. I would like to let the record reflect that I will abstain from voting on this matter at this present time, though it is clear that I have no current conflict with Odetta Partners because I severed my business relationship months before my election. I nonetheless choose to abstain tonight to avoid any semblance of the appearance of impropriety. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. A resolution of the Mayor and City Council of the City of North Miami, Florida, authorizing the issuance of a conditional use permit for the conceptual master development plan for Tract A of Biscayne Landing Plat, in accordance with Article 3, Section 3-405 of the City of North Miami Code of Ordinances, Land Development Regulations, providing for an effective date and for all other purposes.
Madam City Attorney, since it's a quasi-judicial, should we swear anybody that's actually...
Yes. Anybody in the audience that is going to speak on this matter, please stand so that you can be sworn in. Do you swear or affirm that all the testimony that you're about to give is true and correct? Thank you. You may be seated.
And also, for the record, I believe the council has spoken to the developers, and so just because it's a quasi-judicial item, I just want to state on the record that those of you who have spoken to make the disclosure that those of you who have spoken to the developer.
Oh, I met with, I think.
Yeah, all of you have.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, that's it. Thank you.
Okay, so how do we proceed? Do we have a presentation, or what is it? Is it something you just need to vote? No presentation from what I understand from tab Q.
There's no presentation, Vice Mayor. Staff is recommending that this item be approved. We have reviewed this conceptual plan and its conditional use, and we're excited to present it tonight for approval so that phase 1 can get underway.
Okay. Public hearing on tab Q is now open. Anybody interested to speak on tab Q? Public hearing is now come on. Public hearing is still open.
And Madam Vice Mayor, if you desire, I know that it was the spirit to put time limits.
Yes, we will have a 3 minutes per person, including our former mayor.
Would it not be better to comment after the presentation?
There will be no presentation, sir.
No presentation. How do we know what we're voting on?
I'm sure that you know because you come before us, and the Madam Clerk just read the resolution. Who want to be first? You, Mr.
I'll speak.
Go ahead. You will have 3 minutes, sir. Make good use of it.
First of all, I'd like to respectfully suggest that 3 minutes is not an adequate period of time, and I would be grateful if...
Sir, how do you, I'm sorry. What's going on?
I asked this gentleman, and actually he should have handed up the staff, but he was just being helpful because...
Okay, yeah, that's nice, but you know...
Yeah, my apology. But I first I wanted to say, and I'm not sure where, there's only 3 of you here.
We have a quorum to run the meeting,
Okay.
so go ahead.
I have some concerns, and I'd like more than 3 minutes to try to address them. My first concern is with regard to the traffic, and I wanted to thank the manager for speaking with me, and thank Ms. Sajur also for speaking with me. But I went ahead and I had my own traffic expert look over the traffic study. Actually, I can't say traffic study because the city's never done a traffic study. The city's done a traffic assessment, which is not the same as a traffic study. So I asked an independent traffic engineer, Mr. Alstead, who's a very respected traffic engineer in Miami Shores, to look at it.
there's some real problems with the ordinance itself, or the use permit which you're about to pass. The first problem is that in the front it says that the changes will be at no cost to the city if there are necessary traffic changes. But then 4 or 5 pages later on, it says that the city and the other interested parties will share in the costs. So you're about to pass an internally inconsistent resolution, and I'll be happy to show you if you want to give me an extra minute or two.
Mr. Boland, Mr. City Manager, Chief, can you put order in the lobby, please? It's been very disturbing. Chief, closing the door is not helping because people are going back and forth. Thank you.
So I wanted to mention that because I have a real concern, and I can, like I say, cite chapter and verse if you will let me. Secondly, I'd basically like to tell you that the only additional traffic work needed or asked for in the cities, and I'd like my report to be a part of the record if I may, in the city's report and proposal is for an additional study of 2 hours between 1 and 3 p.m. at 151st Street. 151st Street is already a level F intersection. So when you add another 5,000 cars at peak hours going through the intersection, an intersection that it may take 2 or 3 light changes to go through, maybe it'll take 7 or 8 to go through there. And you need to, I believe it would be responsible to really address the traffic concerns and do a traffic study before you go ahead and pass this very important conditional use permit, because doing a traffic study is not one of the conditions that you are requiring, okay? And I believe the report that I furnished you, if you give me the time, Madam Vice Mayor, to go through it, will make it clear that this matter really needs to be looked at thoroughly, and you are not even following the recommendations of your own traffic experts. I don't know how much more time I've got.
You done a long time ago, but I just was being kind to you.
Well, I could go on for 20 or 30 minutes, actually.
I know that, but it wouldn't be fair for the rest of the people that really want to speak on the matter, Mr. Mayor. You have another minute to conclude if you like.
No, but I would like you, well, I'll take your minute. Thank you.
Sure.
Take what I can get. The other issue are the schools, which are already overcrowded, and that apparently there isn't adequate provision added, and no one has addressed this issue. I was at the last meeting. I thought the issue was going to be addressed. I don't see anybody here from the school board. I haven't seen anything addressing how you're going to take already overcrowded schools, add 3,500 people, and think that they're going to be less overcrowded. I don't, you have, and the expert writes that he says, the traffic impacts could be very significant. For example, a 74% increase in traffic on 151st Street between 5 and 6 p.m. So why does the city only want to study it between 1 and 3 p.m.? I don't understand that.
Your meeting is up, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, I would stand on the report and ask that the report be incorporated in the record, and I would urge you to deny the request because I believe it is inconsistent with the land use goals of the city, and inconsistent, and you're not doing any favor. You may be helping the developer create more rent, but you're not doing anything except turn us into Aventura South when it comes to traffic, and it'll take easily a half an hour to go to 151st Street from 135th Street.
Sir?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes, William Prevotel, 11950 North Bay Shore Drive. And I was before you about a month ago, and during my 3-minute form, I requested to speak on this very important topic. And therefore, I would like an extension of time and your gracious consideration in reviewing what I would like to present this evening. Because aside from going around with my hair on fire, I've tried to get the attention of the City Council. I've tried to get the attention of the city staff and many others throughout the city. And everybody I come across seems to be in agreement that there are better alternatives than what have been presented, but no one seems to have the wherewithal to actually support such an endeavor. I find it very puzzling that we're here to vote on something that's not being presented. I don't know how and when that's done elsewhere, but here's one of the most critical projects in the history of the city, and we're going to vote on the basic foundation. It's the hull of the ship. It's the basis of this. It's the framework, the skeleton, and everything else to follow will be driven by this decision. And I don't understand how there isn't more articulation on that. I've sent beforehand some information that should have gone to our AV technician. I don't know if it's queued up. Is the file that I sent queued up? It may not be. Is the camera able to look at the plan on my right?
They're doing a presentation?
I had sent it, yes. You have received it, and everybody had received it before.
From what? From the developer or from what?
No, I had sent it, and I requested that
Your personal plan for the developer?
Yes, that it be queued up, yes.
Are you speaking on behalf of the developer?
Well, I'm going to address the plan that's not being presented, and I'd like to show...
Well, you only have 1 more minute to present.
Well, that's a little short-sighted. Anyway, if this is the plan, where's the camera? If this happens to be our plan, I'm concerned that there's still been an approach where we're still treating residential like projects. I don't know how many times we've mentioned it at the Planning Commission. We've said, why are they looking into each other? It's that kind of attitude, that kind of disrespect for the citizens and for this land. And I had this aha moment, I had one of those visions maybe, that why is it? Why do we keep on treating this so poorly, this site? And I think we're still treating it, our developers are treating it, rather than giving it the respect it deserves and the potential that it could have, we're treating it like the landfill site that it was. And we're going to fill it with landfill people, with landfill buildings, and landfill retail. We have buildings looking into other buildings that are straight out of projects from the 1950s and 60s. We have the same arrangement of auto mall dealerships, like we need a lot more auto dealerships, ruining the nicest landscape on the property. Just sprawling and spoiling it. We have a hotel that has a hotel that actually looks over the roofs of retail. So we're going to go from a 3-star to a 4-star with that kind of attitude, that kind of insight. And then I looked at the retail, and we've made progress. We had 1950s style. We had 1950s style mall.
1 more minute to confirm.
We had 1950s style strip mall. It was like indicative of 79th Street. And we've moved away from that. We got rid of some of that surface parking. And look, what do we have here? We have something that is barricades of retail, separated by alleys. Where have we seen that before? Well, we've seen it in military camps. We've seen it in concentration camps. But where have we seen it locally? No, it's not Bell Harbor Shops, and it's not Merrick Park. It's not the Aventura Mall. Recognize it?
Mr. President.
It's swap shop. That's what you get. Your new layout is swap shop out of flea market mentality. I think it's very dangerous that we have gone to this point. This needs to be reconsidered, and everybody's had the opportunity to choose a better way. There is a better design that alleviates all the problems that I mentioned. It's been available to the council, it's been available to the developers, and it should be adopted as a minimum standard. Not that they have to adopt it exactly, as a minimum standard of what can be done.
Thank you, Mr. Prevotale.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I would like to say, just finally, Daniel Burnham said,
Thank you, Mr. Prevotale.
Make no small plans, for they hold no magic. This holds only disappointment.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are you going to speak?
Good evening, Andrew Hellinger. I'm the receiver of the Oaks Association. It's a pleasure to be before you. Welcome to the new council members. I think that, and I said this before, you should know that I don't come up here as an ally or a friend of this developer. The Oaks Association has some issues with this developer. We would like certain things done. There are site-wide issues we need to deal with. But I said this before, even after we voiced our issues, that I think what the developer's asking for is rights to build 4,315 residential units, 150 room 4-star hotel, and approximately 1.2 million of retail space. They have published a site plan that looks like this. It's attached to some documents I've seen. And it doesn't talk about their phasing or various areas. It actually calls into a site plan. And to the extent that they're asking that this particular plan be approved and implemented, I think that this needs more time to ferment. I don't think that's what they're asking for. But oddly enough, what the city has published online is a very simple resolution that approves a site plan. It's a 2-page resolution. It has a site plan that talks about phases. It's an old site plan, but it talks about phases and areas, and it's attached to the resolution that was published that would be approved tonight. The interesting part from the Oaks Association standpoint is that the site plan attached to your resolution that's being suggested be approved, attaching this old site plan, actually has a road coming through the Oaks property. So I don't think that the resolution that's online is the one that's being proffered up as the correct one. And I want to point that out. Now, to the extent that it is the right one.
You have 1 minute to
Thank you.
conclude.
To the extent it is the right one, then you can't approve it because it includes land that's not theirs. And to the extent they're asking for a different one, we do have issues over the site plan with stormwater management and gas management and overall issues that affect the two joint, the two neighbors. And we're close to working out an arrangement on that, and I'm hopeful in the next 15 to 30 days we're able to tell the manager that we've reached the deal. But to the extent that you are approving a site plan as its development plan that affects the Oaks, then we would request that one of the conditions be added to your resolution, that acceptable issues with the Oaks that affect us, traffic, drainage, site management, gas management, site-wide issues that affect each of us equally, that we have an agreement on that.
Thank you so much for your comments.
Okay.
Public hearing is still open. Anybody else?
Hello, Council. Sergio Silvestre, 14951 Royal Oaks Lane, The Oaks. As a member of this community since 2007, an original buyer of The Oaks, and a board member of the Oaks HOA, I'm asking that you please extend this and think it over properly before approving a plan which still has outstanding issues with The Oaks. Once again, we've dealt with the developers in which we had lots of promises made to us. Nothing's ever been put in writing. Nothing is in writing yet. This is the last opportunity for us to get the Oaks resolved, put it in writing, and make sure that we're not wronged as owners once again. I ask you to please extend this until proper resolution is done. Thank you.
Public hearing is still open.
Kenneth Each, 776 Northeast 125th, member of the Planning Commission. Councilman, Councilwoman, Mayor, congratulations, welcome. I was under the impression that any update to the plan, the overall site plan, was going to go before the Planning Commission. I haven't seen this update. It hasn't gone before the Planning Commission, and I don't know if that's the statute, the ordinance. I have to defer to council. A lot of these things could have been worked out at the Planning Commission. These questions could have been raised, and you would have had some resolution on it today. Now, I certainly don't want to see this project delayed, held up, constrained. I want to see a beautiful, beautiful project out there. I'm not an obstructionist. I believe in development, and I think one of the reasons the city got into the financial straits that we're in is because we didn't have proper development over the last 30 years. And I have not seen this plan as your commissioner. My obligation, when you put me on that planning commission, was first and foremost to the citizens of North Miami, and secondly to you, the elected officials, to give you my honest and best judgment and opinions. Ladies and gentlemen, I've been in government for almost 40 years. Over 40 years. I served in 2 cities, plus the military, plus other places. I think I know my business. And I would like to have seen this plan come before the Planning Commission. I believe that is the proper procedure. Otherwise, why do you have a Planning Commission?
Thank you, Chief.
And if I may,
Sure. Conclude.
we were told by the architect and members of this group that everything that was going to be done would come before the Planning Commission. Well, you know, it's like sleight of hand.
We'll have time to answer that question.
Okay.
I understand your question and I write it
Okay,
down.
thank you very much.
No problem.
Vice
Public
Mayor.
hearing
Thank
is still open. Public hearing is still, it's closed. Mr. City Manager, can you enlighten us, please?
I'm sorry, Vice Mayor.
To answer the question regarding the, this resolution has not been before the Planning Commission.
Staff did present the conceptual plan before the Planning Commission. Planning Commission, on the last meeting, 2 of the members in the quasi-judicial hearing got up and left. So therefore, the meeting was not able to go forth. I will say that the developer had, in our opinion, exhausted every effort to make a good, fair presentation before the Planning Commission. It's in our opinion that the Planning Commission missed the entire spirit of their role. They got into the detail, as Mr. Prevotel, who also said on that, where buildings should be placed, how they should be turned, and it was only a conceptual plan. We exhausted every effort to tell them that this is only a conceptual conditional use plan, and each phase would then come back to that Planning Commission where they would have ample opportunity to then get more into details as that was took place. So when we missed that, they were not getting that. They totally missed the spirit of their objective, including the fact that 2 members left. We brought it before council. And so here we lie today. I will say that the developer, in our opinion, exhausted every effort. They had community meetings. They said back and forth to no avail. So this is only a conditional use conceptual plan. What is before us is just a rendition. It's not details. Each phase that Mr. Each talked about will come back before the Planning Commission.
Before I move to a council discussion, I have a legal question for the city attorney. In terms of legal matters, can we proceed with this resolution or this ordinance, although that it did not, I don't want to say not pass, but not recommended by the Planning Commission?
Yes, the matter first goes to the Planning Commission to either approve or deny. So it can come to you even though the Planning Commission denies recommendation. You still have the authority to make a decision.
Okay, thank you. Do you have a presentation or?
No, I would like to.
You're just up there for a question, not to answers.
No, actually, Vice Mayor, I would like to address one item that was not included in the package that was brought up tonight to bring some information to light.
Go ahead.
Has to do with the traffic at 151st Street and Biscayne Boulevard. We have brought that issue, as well as previous studies that were done by by Florida International University, as well as other entities, showing that to be a failed intersection. We brought that before the Florida Department of Transportation, both at the state level and at the local level. They recognize the problem. They've had their people out there doing traffic counts and recognize the accuracy of the level of service F that was cited in several of these traffic studies that were done. We've engaged the city's consultant to help us with that at the state level. The state is currently pulling together a budget to improve that intersection, to handle the current loads that were imposed by the by the additional schools and by the additional traffic at Florida International University, as well as the traffic burden it has been suffering in the past. And they are also including the traffic that we're going to impose through our development in that budget. That budget will then, and Mr. Book, correct me if I'm wrong, will then go before the state to be approved as an amendment, and the Department of Transportation will take on the improvements of that intersection. We have that confirmation so far, and we'll bring that before you when it is ratified at the state level. As to the schools, in our submittal, you'll see an area that's designated as a school site on Biscayne Landing, and that area is fine with the developer to be used as such, but it has to be approved by the city and the school board. And that concludes my presentation. By the way, thank you for this few minutes.
Thank you, sir. Council discussion. Madam Keys, go ahead.
Thank you. Good evening. I understand the importance of moving forward with this plan this evening. I've met with the developer, I've met with staff, and I've spent most of the entire weekend trying to pore over documents. We have verbatim minutes from the Planning Commission that have a lot of information. We did not get a staff report online, I guess maybe sometime Thursday night or Friday. So that is the first time I've been able to read a staff report. Staff report speaks of 2 studies, a Dade County concurrency study and a traffic study, which I requested on Sunday, but I got it Monday afternoon. Thank you. I have questions on that. One, with the concurrency study, the study itself, and according to staff, is the adjoining schools, Alonzo, Morning, and the David Lawrence, does not have, they are saying we do not have to build, or the developer does not have to build schools. But they're also saying that the people who are going to be living in the Biscayne Landing development cannot use these adjacent schools. There's not room for them. So these students are going to have to go elsewhere. The issue is, if once they're built, the people who live there are going to demand going to those schools because they're adjacent. So that means other students are going to have to be displaced. I want to know what students, who those are. We have a lot of residents who would be very unhappy if they're displaced. We talked about a parcel being allocated for the school. I know we have 6 acres of park, and there's a 2-acre footprint allowed for a school. I have personally yesterday called the school board to try to determine, get some more clarification on the report, and asking if 2-acre site is sufficient for this. They have not gotten back to me, so I am unclear, and I do not have an answer on the concurrency issue with the schools. On the traffic study, which I got, I'm concerned. Nobody's really addressed a very important issue in this room this evening, and that is the access of the Spine Road. The traffic study itself is based on the fact that they're going to be able to use the Royal Oaks Lane, which I assume is the property on the Oaks Landing site. The developer does not have the right to use that property yet, and I understand they are in agreement. So our entire traffic study is based on a road they don't own. We discussed, I know we don't have the, where the Spine Road is now, I know it's going to be, you can't make a left out of the Biscayne Landing, you're going to have to go up and make a U-turn, and I know ideally you want to use the Oaks Lane up by the Oaks Landing because there is a median, and that way you could have a traffic light. But right now the study isn't really clear. They also talk about using 146th Street, which is between Costco and Publix, which is a nightmare. So I'm not really clear on this traffic study. There are also other issues with the Oaks, and I don't know that you allowed Mr. Hellinger enough time to discuss it. You have stormwater maintenance problems, and I did speak to Mr. Hellinger, but I also took his notes verbatim from his planning commission, and they talk about drainage and stormwater, and the water drains, and then it goes eventually into the lake on Biscayne Landing. I don't know if we've addressed that, because I hear rumors of the lake being modified. And we talk about conditions, none of the conditions are in there, and there's just so much paperwork here.
Madam Councilwoman,
Yes.
You can actually ask question to the developer if you wish.
I don't
an
think the
answer
answers are
right now.
available. Well, one question I do want to know is, and I know we discussed it, we
Can you
cannot
guys answer
predicate.
her question? If
Well, I'm still talking. We cannot predicate our decision tonight based on an agreement with the Oaks getting this road or the stormwater management. But I think it's important, and I know and I understand we're here only to give a use, give a density.
That's it.
But if I am not comfortable, I'm sorry, but I don't have the answers to make sure that we have the ample school concurrency, if there's enough property allocated for the school, and if the road is going to be able to use. And there's been so much paperwork that I am not really able to make an educated decision. And I like to read all the documents. And I've been reading, and I've been reading, and I've been reading. But I still don't have the answer from the school board or our traffic study.
Okay.
Madam Mayor.
Oh, go ahead, please, Steve.
Not mayor, vice mayor, please.
Madam Vice Mayor, in regards to the traffic, what we were required to do is a traffic assessment, not a traffic study.
Right.
The traffic assessment indicated the current condition of the roads, which 151st is an F, Biscayne Boulevard is a C. However, as we begin to go through each phase of the project, such as building the shopping centers, all of the other uses, a traffic study then will be required, and it would come back before the Planning Commission, it would come back before the city, right before this council, at which time we would have the opportunity to remediate and make amendments based upon those plans. For instance, if they say we want a big mall, and if the traffic study does not support that, then we as city staff and the Planning Commission and this board would then have ample time at that meetings to make those adjustments to the developer. So that would address that. In terms of the schools, as you know, when we gave the land for the schools in the original development, we did not secure space. And even had we done so, development failed. So therefore, when the school board moved forward to build those schools, the surrounding areas had issues. So there are people from Aventura, Sunny Isles, Golden Beach that are brought to our schools. However, through the new bond that was just passed, Aventura will be getting a new high school. Sunny Isles will be getting a new addition to that school. Therefore, as future development begins, it is anticipated that that would alleviate the issue of surrounding areas coming to Alonzo, Tracy Morning, and David Lawrence. However, as we do know that because of the fact that we don't know what the future will be, we do have a spot on the site for a school in the event that there is still an overcrowding issue. So we have addressed this through an ABC effort to address the school issue.
Thank you, sir. Are you done, Madam Councilwoman?
What about your stormwater management on the Oaks?
Regulatory agencies, we've been working with the Water District, the other regulatory agencies, and it is their opinion with staff to have one contiguous site, not multiple sites. So there will be one stormwater master plan. That is the direction that we're getting from the regulatory agencies, which will address Mr. Hellinger's issues. And we as staff, we're saying that there must be one homeowners, not homeowners, but one association, so that for all of these issues, such as stormwater or gas monitoring, it would be done as it had originally planned to do so. And that would address that issue.
So are we willing to put those as conditions in our resolution?
These are regulatory requirements. And so in the lease agreement, it says that the developer must comply with all regulatory agencies. So that's already in the lease.
Thank you, sir. You done, madam?
For now.
Councilman Galvin?
No questions at this time.
Are you sure?
Can
I'm sure right now.
Okay.
Can I say a quick word?
Go ahead.
Mr. Swerdlow?
If you don't have to, trust me, if you don't have to, please don't. Let us allow us to finish. Because it
Okay.
seems like the councilwoman is fine. Scott doesn't have any questions, so, Councilman Bienvenue.
And if we do reopen the comments, for presentation from the developer, I'd ask that we then reopen it for anybody who might want to follow up.
I'm not having any presentation at this time, except that for answering questions from us.
Yeah.
Go ahead, sir.
And Vice Mayor and City Manager, and you telling me on the site we're gonna build about 4,300 units and plus commercials, and we don't have a study about the traffic. Is that correct?
To the Vice Mayor, Councilman, this is a conceptual plan. We are not required to do a traffic study because we don't know what's going to be built. As the developer, by passing this, we allow the developer to do phase one, which is to pull the permit to build the spine road. The next phase is to build, according to the plan, I don't know whether it's residential or commercial. At that time, a traffic study is required based upon their proposal to determine whether or not what they are presenting, whether or not it's traffic feasible, at which time we as staff will have a better opportunity to make recommendations. And here's the case in point. If they're designed to build 4,000 units, but the traffic study only supports 2,000, then at that time we would have an opportunity to
You said we.
the city, the planning commission, the city, at each of these phases, because there's no need to do a traffic study. We don't know what's going to be built. We have no idea.
In the conceptual plan, you already anticipate we're going to have about 4,300 units.
That's
residential units.
In concept, but each phase they then have to come back with what they intend to do. That's only the maximum. But when they come back for each phase, now they have to present what they intend to do, at which time a traffic study is required based upon what they were requesting. Then it goes back to the planning commission. Staff would make recommendations based upon the traffic study of how many units they can build. The site would allow them up to 5,000, but the traffic study may not support that. Therefore, we can make the proper amendments and recommendations to the developer at that time.
But it's up to them to accept it or not, because the plan said in the lease agreement, you said, and it's up to the tenant to make a change on the plan.
No, they have to. No, the developer will have to present the phase, which would be more detailed. Each phase, they have to present more details. They have to comply with all regulatory agencies, all zonings. They have to comply. So if there is an issue with traffic, we can then say, you can't, the traffic study does not support the 4,000 units that you're trying to build. So therefore, we're only going to approve 2,000. At that point in time, it would then come through the regular procedures and process that we now would have to go through.
We'll decide that we're not going to have a presentation about the conceptual plan tonight.
I'm sorry, sir?
We'll decide that we're not going to have a presentation by the tenant about that plan.
Miss, I can answer that
Uh-huh.
if you allow me. It's nothing to decide. This is an item that has been before us for a month, and each one of us here have a chance to meet with the developer, and I'm sure that you did as well. And they had the chance to go out there to meet with constituents. They have different workshops. So I feel that since the audience are really very knowledgeable about the project, us up here, we already have the chance, just for sake of time, to ask the specific questions that we want to know. A presentation will be just delayed the matters. So if you have any questions, we have the rest of the night to answer it and to entertain it. I'm not in a hurry, and I'm sure you're not as well.
No.
So if you have any more questions, if you allow me to move on, Mr. Sir. I would love to do
No, I
so.
have another question.
Go ahead.
Mr. City Manager, based on the contract, the lease agreement, and the landfill closure, how long will it take about to finish?
Through the Vice Mayor, Councilman, the landfill closure is based upon the ground remediation plan, which is underway, as you witnessed last week. It is the position of the state that now that that is underway, we may get landfill closure. We have to go back to the state, because the main component was to put in a groundwater remediation system. Because the site is going to have ongoing construction, when we spoke to the state, they may perhaps close the site, and therefore we could have landfill closure right now. I can't guarantee that, because we have to go back to the state and ask. Remember that landfill closure is when the entire site is completed. However, construction will be taking place for the next 15 to 20 years. And so therefore, every time you build something, there is a process regulated by the state of how you have to deal with that dump site. So therefore, it's going to always be open and always be closed. If they build a shopping center, it's going to be open and then it has to be closed.
But
so, I'm sorry?
May I? How could you control it if it's never been open? I thought, from what I understand, the water remediation was not just the closure. The padding is including as well.
Vice Mayor, you're correct. There's two components. One is that you have to remediate the groundwater, and number two, you have to provide a padding.
The cap.
And the capping. And when we met with the state, when we went to Tallahassee, they're simply saying that they're taking into consideration that there's ongoing construction. There will be. So there is and I just say a possibility that they may consider that since there's ongoing construction, they may issue a temporary closure. But every time that you go through construction to build something, you're opening the site, and then when you build it, that's the padding. So it's closed again.
Hold on, I'm just going to open one more question, then I'm going to close my chapter. I know that we have a specific amount of money to close, for lack of better word, for capping and everything else. Before I go, entertain that question. Is this the land closure is part of the resolution tonight?
No.
If by any chance we pass this resolution tonight, how would we handle the land closure in the future?
This conceptual plan conditional use permit just simply allows them to begin pulling permits, which would have to come before the Planning Commission and then this council.
So what you're saying, if we wish, we can actually put in another resolution or for next council meeting to talk about the
capping?
The capping and everything else.
Yes.
That will not affect, if by any chance that we pass this resolution, that will not affect any decision that we have towards that explanation that you just gave me, because I am totally full by it right now.
You're correct, Vice Mayor. There are two separate issues. The capping is grant money issued by the county.
I understand that, but I
And-
just want to make sure that this has nothing to do. If we pass this resolution tonight, that will not put her in a corner where we cannot actually discuss the padding or the closure of the land or anything like that.
That's correct.
Okay, I just want to put it on the record.
Do we have a 5 years permit from FDP about the closure of the landfill?
I'm not for sure what the time frame is on the closure, but I believe contractually it's 10 years, 7 or 10 years. They have to totally cap the site.
No, you're talking about the tenant. I'm talking about the state, the permit that we have for the site.
As I indicated before, the state's position is the site, they do understand that this is a construction site. So what they were concerned about was issuing the groundwater remediation so that construction can begin. We have met that permit, we've met that deadline. So as far as landfill closure, I don't think that the state has a time frame on that, but we do contractually with the developer that in 10 years, wherever phase they're in, the entire site must be capped. But again, if they only developed on half of the site and they met the terms of the lease agreement, every time, although they may have capped it with 2 feet of dirt, every time they build something new, you have to pull a special permit to open the site, regulated and monitored by the state. Then once they build, that is the padding, and then it has to be closed by the state.
Do you have any other questions, Councilman?
No.
Okay.
Yeah,
don't think
can I ask one more question? As far as the traffic report, it's not a study, it's a report, and it states that a comprehensive traffic impact study is recommended to be prepared. Is that going to be, I know that you noticed the meeting, I have a copy of it somewhere, in the Planning Commission, you're going to have Phase 1, the Spine Road, coming up next week on July 2nd. Are we going to have a traffic study done before we approve a Spine Road and the location of it?
I think you stumped the manager on that one. I'm going to ask Ms. Tanya Sajura Wilson. I don't know that if Phase 1, being that it's the roadway that it requires, my understanding it was only for development, but if she can answer that.
There's no traffic study that's required for Phase 1 because there's no vertical construction. It's just a road. Your vertical construction is going to start in Phase 2. That's when you'll see the first traffic report for the project.
And as far as the Phase 1 that we're getting ready to discuss coming up, I mean, I'm not real comfortable with the way the Spine Road is coming out onto 151st Street, because right now it's going to be, everybody is going to be, 7,000 people are going to be pouring out into that road and making a U-turn. You're not, there's no median, you can't make a left, and you can't make a left in front of all these school traffic. So, are we not going to have a traffic study for that? And I mean, I still like a condition that we have that road usage.
To the Vice Mayor, Councilwoman, Phase 1, the Spine Road begins at 143rd Street. It does not complete all the way out to 151st Street.
That's what the Spine Road is.
It stops at a particular phase.
It's got. Doesn't the Spine Road have? I mean, isn't that the purpose of the Spine Road, is to go from 151st to 143rd to make a complete?
But
maybe Mr. Tillman can answer that.
If I may, through the Vice Mayor to Councilwoman Keys, I got to clear up 2 issues that we not getting quite right here. Number 1, the Spine Road does in fact connect the existing Royal Oaks Lane that you referenced earlier. That's the existing 1,700 lineal foot of road that comes in from 151st Street and goes as far as the Oaks and stops. That will then continue due south across the site and then connect to 143rd Street intersection. That is the Spine Road. And that existing road that services the Oaks right now, as well as the rest of the site, was the road that was cited in the traffic assessment and the trip counts that give us the ability to handle the traffic through that site. The road that was proposed originally, back maybe 3 generations ago, that cut through the Oaks property has been withdrawn until we reach an agreement with the Oaks. And only then, once we have that agreement, will we reimpose that road onto the site and give us the ability to have another intersection. Last point is we can signal the intersection at the existing location at 151st Street and Royal Oaks Lane. It takes a little more effort. We have to do a little more studies. We have to offer a little more input to the state and the county to just be certain that it doesn't create a stacking issue. But our consultants are confident that we can do that. It takes longer, takes a little more effort, but we can do that as a last resort should we not be able to put that other spur road in. Does that pretty much address your concerns?
Pretty much. As far as the density, whether we have this road or not should not affect our density, Madam Attorney? That we're
No.
agreeing to tonight?
No, because you're not addressing that this evening. That's for the second phase.
If there's any other questions, we'll move on to, I will move the resolution to issue a permit for the conceptual master development plan for tract of the Biscayne Landing plat. Anybody second that resolution?
I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor? Is that a roll call, or is it just,
You can
what
take
is it?
a roll call.
Roll call, please.
Councilman Bannerman?
No.
Councilwoman Keys?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Estero?
Yes.
Councilman Galvin?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Madam Mayor, your chair is still available and your gavel is waiting for you. While she's coming, I would like to move to tab R, Madam City Clerk.
A resolution of the Mayor and City Council of the City of North Miami, Florida, approving the selection of Metro Express, Inc. as the top-ranked contractor for the provision and placement of hot mixed asphalt, as proposed by the Florida Department of Transportation for resurfacing streets, alleyways, and other public rights-of-way, in accordance with the terms, conditions, and specifications contained in the invitation for bid number 25-12-13, asphalt laid in place, at a cost not to exceed $300,000, and further authorizing the city manager to issue purchase orders for the provision of the stated services on an as-needed, when-needed basis, provided for an effective date and for all other purposes.